What what if the fastest way to grow your business isn't about chasing more visibility, but having deeper conversations with people already watching? Most people think they need more followers, more reach, and more likes. But often the biggest opportunities are sitting right in your inbox, waiting for you to show up with clarity and clear care. And yet, DMs, direct messages, are where many coaches and entrepreneurs fall short. They overthink, freeze up, or avoid following up altogether. How many of you can relate to this? And this is why I believe DM nurturing is one of the most overlooked and most powerful strategies to accelerate your business growth. It's been a core strategy in my own business for years, not just to drive conversions, but to build partnerships, trust, and create real momentum. For those who are new here, hello and welcome. I'm Diana YK Chan, business growth strategist, LinkedIn top voice, and the founder of the In Demand Expert Accelerator. I help coaches and service-based experts build premium brands, generate consistent leads, and scale sustainably without the burnout. So let me ask you, do you currently use DMs to nurture leads? Type in a yes or no in the comments. Type in a yes or no. Do you currently use DMs as part of your core strategy in lead nurturing? Second, my question is share with us in the comment what is your biggest challenge right now when it comes to nurturing warm leads in the DMs? Type in the comments to let us know so that Victoria can also tailor a session to you guys as well. Drop in the chat. Okay, we're here to speak directly to what's holding you back here. All right, so I'm so excited to introduce someone who's not only mastered this, but also someone who's had powerful evolution over the past year, Victoria Michaels. Victoria is a ghostwriter, lead generation strategist, and DM queen. We call her Queen V. But she didn't start out that way. She spent over 10 years running her own marketing business, transitioned into career coaching, and earlier this year made a bold pivot in launching her ghostwriting and lead generation business, where I became her very first client. She now works with both emerging and high profile creators to help them build visibility, stay consistent, and generate leads through consistent content and DMs that feel personal, not pushy. We first met last year in March 2024 at my Wealthy and Worthy Mastermind in Cancun, followed by my In Demand Expert Accelerator. She came in at first quietly, still figuring out how to fully own her voice and her story. But once she stepped into her own value, everything shifted. Today, she's here to teach you what's working now and how to turn conversations into conversions, one message at a time. So let's welcome Victoria to the stage, everyone. Let's give her some heart emojis. I know she's a little nervous, but let's give her some love and support that she's got this. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for having me. I already messed up. I'm done. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be here. I always tell people that, and if you followed me, you know that I am not a Zoom person. I am not a camera person. I'm not a presentation person. I am a writer, and I do help people get leads and get sales calls and DMs converted. So that's what I do, and that's what I'll be good at doing today. Speaking, don't rate me on that.
Well, we got you here, and I'm so honestly excited and honored to have you with me side by side today to talk about this topic that I deeply care about because I'm all about building trust and authentic relationships. So what we're going to do, audience, is we're going to start one, learn a little bit about Victoria as part one, and then part two of the segment is we're going to dive into the topic of DM nurturing, and we're going to show some examples. And then afterwards, we're going to open the floor up to questions. Sounds good? If you're excited, type in a +1. All right, so Victoria, why don't we get started? Is what inspired you to pivot into launching your ghostwriting and lead generate business? What does your business look like now in terms of who you serve and how you support them?
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of going to start a little bit back, and we had mentioned that my background was in marketing. I worked with small business owners at the start of 2006 when I just turned 18 years old. So I had a business for over 10 years, I think 13 years, and I sold it because I was tired and burnt out and just ready to do something else. And through my exploration of trying to figure out what else looked like in life, I was an EMT at one time. I was studying to become a midwife. Like I've done a lot of interesting careers and still couldn't figure out where I was going to go. And I ended up hiring a career coach to help me navigate that process. And I was able to secure a job pretty quickly through a cold outbound email. I don't have a college degree. I don't look special on paper. And I started to really realize like, oh, there might be something there. And as I was coaching people, I loved it. Like I think the biggest thing is to help someone find a job, increase their salary, and really just love work that they're doing. And I really enjoyed career coaching. But one of the things is because I didn't have a background as a recruiter, and also because sometimes there's a lot of technical things in the job search, more in terms of understanding the nuances of an industry or a company, that sometimes I felt a lot of imposter syndrome. And I was like, like I can be the number one career coach, but I was struggling to get there in terms of myself. And I think Diana was able to help me realign like really what my values were and what my talents and strengths were to really connect that back to writing in lead gen. And one thing I'll note is like the company that I started when I was 18, it was through lead gen. So it was, 2006. Like I don't even know if there was Instagram. There was definitely not TikTok. And so literally I was an 18-year-old kid, just graduated from high school. I'd left home at 15 without my parents, and I was on my own and just trying to figure out how to make money. So that's where all this lead gen stuff started, was literally sitting there straight out of high school messaging, 6, 7 figure business owners to get them to hire me. And it worked. So I normally don't talk about that part and it makes me not excited, but here we are.
Thank you for that background introduction. That gives a really good context that you started young of learning how to do this, right? Some of the common challenges we're seeing from the audience is like what to say, how often to connect, how to go from introduction to starting a deeper conversation on problems and solutions. Amy wrote, I don't really know how to use it well. It looks like people ghost me. I don't know my message, or just those folks don't use DM. So those are some of the challenges here. Want to hear a little bit more that you've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. What's been one of the biggest lessons you've learned about building a business that's aligned, sustainable, and fulfilling?
Um, I think definitely is to understand like where your energy is and where you work best. Like as I said, like I think as a career coach, I really struggled with being on, as I told you, on Zoom all the time and on calls, and that's not the best work for me. I'm really good like behind the scenes. Like I'm really a deep worker. And that's where I shine the most. And I think that was something that I've had to work on and really understand that that's where my talents are. And I think I've come to terms with over the past, years and years of being in business, that you can't really rely on inbound until you get like a really, really strong, sustainable audience and lots of referrals coming in. And even at that point, you still have to know how to reach out and ask for the opportunity to learn about you, your services, and to work with you. So those are some things I've learned, and I think one of the truest things more recently has just been owning my voice. And as I said, like I don't as much come from like a corporate background. I had to figure out like how in this world of 1 billion users on LinkedIn, how do I stand out? And I have a Southern accent. I'm from South Carolina. I had to figure out like how does that even translate into this world? And that has been, I'm telling you, like when I made that shift, that has just brought me so much growth, so much followers, and so much business. So those are a couple of the lessons I've learned along the way.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I remember when we first met in Cancun, something that I was just so amazed of, even though I know you said you don't really like me on camera, but your ability to connect with people like on a deep personal level. Like I'm curious from the audience, like how many of you are really good, like in person, connecting with people one-on-one or strangers. That's just who you are. You can strike up that conversation. And maybe if you can take us back, like when you came to my mastermind in Cancun, like what shifted? Like what were some of the challenges you had and what really shifted afterwards that really helped you to fully owning your voice, stepping into your visibility, and launch this new business. Like I've really seen behind the scenes of how you've grown this past year. Something that I'm really, really proud of is just believing yourself more, believing your value. And this is like a message I give everyone here is to really owning your greatness, believing your brilliance. So if you can share with that audience, that would be amazing to inspire.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like I was in this world of LinkedIn again, like not corporate, not professional. Nobody cared who I was. Like content wasn't resonating. I just kind of just was like, And I think if I really thought about it, like I was doing good as a career coach, and I think I was maybe getting clients. I think if I'm really, really good at like doubting myself. So if you talk to other people, they're like, Victoria's great on camera, Victoria was a great this, but for me, like I'm working on that whole thing. But I think when I first connected with Diana, I just didn't feel like like there was a bright light shining inside of myself. And even just the fact of just going to Cancun, I was like, that's too nice for me. I don't have nice clothes. I'm not pretty enough. I'm overweight. I'm just not going. I'm just nobody. And that was a lot of like the negative self-talk I was having at that time. And even though I think that I was doing good in the coaching business, I don't know, it just wasn't there. And I think what happened, like when I got in the room with like 6 and 7 figure business earners that were around my age, that weren't perfect, even though they looked perfect in my eyes, but they would tell you that they weren't perfect. I started to be like, wait, maybe I was in a room that I could belong, and maybe I was in a room that I had value, and maybe people saw something in me that I should see in myself. So I think being in that room and just like sitting at the feet of people that were being very successful in business started to spark. And I started, I think, really for the first time to believe myself. And I think Diana, I really truly believe like the biggest value with her is it's like it came from the entrepreneur world. So I knew like business, but as you're hearing and as I'm saying, I wasn't trusting myself and my worth. And she helped me unravel a lot of things. I was on the phone many a times crying to her because things were hard. I wasn't understanding. There were like just little holes I was falling into. And she has really helped me step into that and just really just cheered me on and championed me. And a lot of times when I'll end this here, but a lot of times, like I think as business owners, like we're so close to our business that it's not until we get another person's perspective, especially someone that's done that, that we can see the full picture and actually be like, oh yeah, like this was in front of my face the whole time, but I couldn't see that for myself. And I think that just working with her has just been a transformation. I mean, you if you guys just go back to my LinkedIn count from 2 years ago, you'll just even 3 years ago, you'll see it. You'll see where the difference. And I hate talking about myself a lot.
Well, thank you for being authentic and vulnerable. This is important for I think everyone if anyone can relate to this, right? Because it ties into a lot of your how you see yourself influence the way you show up in the world and how you approach others. Right. So as you start your evolution of like really believing yourself, part of it is me reminding you like you're really good at this. You're really good with writing. You're really good with connecting with people. Even though you may not like sales, but the fact your ability to ask the good questions and it's so important to take time to acknowledge that. I think once you start acknowledging that and recognizing that, and I think this is where I started like, you know what, I would love to get your help to help me with my content, with my LinkedIn DM strategy. And that was when I really started seeing you like owning and thriving. And this is such an important message for everyone. If you are having doubts, imposter syndrome, playing small, this is such an important reminder to recognize your superpowers, what you're amazing at, or have other people to hype you up and cheer you up, because that's what's going to help you play a bigger game there. So I'm curious to hear from the audience, like what is resonating so far? Like we're going to dive into this topic, but thank you so much for sharing a bit of your background here, Victoria. I think it's just really just being authentic and transparent. I think this is what it's all about: is learning to be real, authentic, not trying to be someone else. That's what this topic is all about as well. Right? We're not just trying to teach you things that like you got to follow this script, follow this template, but ultimately is what's your style? What's your tone of voice? What do you really want to be known for? That's what it really is. So let's dive into this topic, shall we, on mastering the DM dance, like nurturing foundations here. So let's start first. Is Victoria, what is DM nurturing, and how is it different from cold pitching? Let's
Yeah,
set
I
that
mean,
stage.
yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, definitely cold pitching is within like I would define it as within 1 to 3 messages. You're getting a pitch to work with someone or get their product or service. Even sometimes I even would go as far as to say the lead magnet. If someone hasn't asked or requested the lead magnet or given you a yes, I even will say that that's cold pitching as well. DM nurturing, sometimes it can take place over a few hours in order to get like that call link and them to actually book, or sometimes it can be weeks or months. It depends on like the price of your product or service and who your buyer is. B2B can be a slower process. B2C can be quicker. I know definitely in career coaching that was a pretty quick sell. You could get that done pretty quick. But if you're selling to founders, B2B, or you're trying to get a talk, that takes time. And it's a lot of trust. And I've experimented so much with this. And one of the things I'm finding now with founders, a lot of people are like, just pitch a founder right away, pitch a B2B right away. No, start like asking them like questions, like really specific questions that don't make them think. I'm just really a quick example is I was messaging a founder the other day and I was having trouble with like some of the scripts I had been using. For some reason they weren't hitting. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, why aren't they hitting? And so I saw this founder, like he had ran 52 marathons in his tagline. And so I sent him a blank connection request, sent him, once he accepted it, my first message to him was, oh my gosh, did you really run 52 marathons? Are you kidding? Is that for real? Sent it. Got a response from him. We started the conversation. That's what it is. And now we're starting the process of DM nurturing.
I love that. This is a good, great example, right? Of one, being curious. Second is getting personal and asking that question, acknowledging to start the conversation. To start the conversation. Like, what's that one liner that you just really, it doesn't have to be business, it could be personal to start that conversation there, right? Amazing. What are the common mistakes that you've seen that people make in the DMs that break trust or momentum? Let's talk about this. And audience, like share with us as well. You probably received it as on the receiving end, right? I asked here, how many of you got a cold pitch from first message all the time, every day, has made me so resistant to sending DMs as a result because of that, right? Such a big difference. Doing the 5 minutes of research makes a huge difference. That's so true, Izzy. Yeah. So let's talk about the good mistakes. What are the common mistakes people make? Chime in, audience here. If you want to type in the chat, like what are the common that you've seen? All right, yeah, Victoria.
Yeah, I'm gonna list out some. And if you're doing any of these, it's not a disrespect. It's just ways that we can help because I've been around that scene a lot. So if you send a message and you're asking multiple questions in one message, don't do that. One question per message. Sending paragraphs of text, don't do that. Short attention spans online. Keep it really, really short. I like to go 1 to 3 lines per message that I send and wait for a response. Making the message about you and not them. So if you're talking too much about yourself, like me, or I did this or I did that, and then you're just like, what about you? That's not going to fly as well. I think also like putting so much in a message that it is coming across salesy, where you're just like, well, how do you resonate with this idea? How do you, they don't really care. And I know that sounds really, really blunt and brutal, but we all care about what's in it for us in this world. And so we have to think about all DM messages are psychology. So you have to think about, here's a random stranger that I think's a good fit for my business. And how am I going to have like a quick like networking chat with them? And how am I going to ask questions that are meaningful that will get them to respond? And I think one of the biggest is that you're pitching way too early before you even qualify and even know if that person's a fit. I think I listed like 15 other things, but those are my big ones that I'm thinking about right now.
I love that. Anyone want to share? I love this. I'm hearing what, like, you got to qualify before you pitch. Sending one message at a time, making it about them versus you. Anyone want to chime in if you want to just say a few things on camera here, like either mistakes you made or you see people make, or what turns you off? Okay, let's Mr. Interactive here. Like let's be aware of some of these common challenges. But
I
so far,
love this.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You're speaking to my heart, Victoria.
Who is this?
Um,
Who is this here?
it's Clevette.
Oh, Clevette. Hey, Clevette.
Hey. Um, this is the foundation. I know we had a call the other day with regards to sales, and everyone was complaining, well, not complaining, expressing their frustration around sales. And this is the start of it. It's the start of the engagement of the relationship. And what Victoria's laying out is the groundwork to start that relationship, because it is the worst thing of just getting that, I called it a pitch slap in your DMs where somebody comes in, it's just like, hi, here's my offer. And I'm like going, okay, like at least give me a drink before you try to like, try to make a dance on me, right? Like, so everything that Victoria said is spot on. And it literally just takes 2 seconds of a quick scan of their LinkedIn profile, doing a quick, even, you know what? Okay, I'm going to talk about AI, right? Run it through Perplexity and say, hey, here's the person's name. Because guess what? Everything that's on LinkedIn, FYI, is scraped on the like you can scrape someone's profile via Perplexity. So you could do a quick search going, give me 5 key points that's awesome about this person. Boom. You have a quick search and something that's not generic and boring that you can actually put out to somebody. So, Victoria, loving everything. Keep it going.
Oh, thank you. I love that. That's amazing. I didn't even think about even mentioning that. I think we're gonna switch to you leading it here.
We're gonna bring Clevette in next time because she has a sales background. That's like the next stage of the conversion. Right now, we're just in the DMs. But so one thing I always talk, I'm really big on networking. Networking has been one of my most popular talks over this past decade. And I have this ABC rule, my three ABCs is always be connecting, always be curious, and always be cultivating. Those are my three ABCs. And by being curious and connecting, that's where you really learn more about the other person than about you. Asking powerful questions. And this is really important because I know Victoria's going to talk about this is by asking good questions, you are also learning how to better qualify whether this person is a right lead or not. We're not just talking right now today about how to just build relationships, but what Victoria's going to be teaching here is how do you nurture these relationships that are your prospects or leads to move them down that buyer's journey. And so the first step is we got to be a human, right? We got to show curiosity first before going right into this pitch here. So, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Jason, you have a quick question or great point to make here?
I just wanted to thank Victoria's point, and of course, we spoke about it as well, Diana, that back at the coaching summit, there was a fellow coach of ours who I was direct messaging, and she actually came back with, Jason, one question at a time. And so I just wanted to recognize when Victoria just mentioned 2 minutes ago about like, make sure it's a short message, make sure it's one question. So I just wanted to point out the fact that coaches being coaches, it's really nice to hear that you can be really excited to speak with someone, but also you can reserve it so when they have the time to respond. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that
Yeah,
is really great advice.
absolutely. When you have too many questions, it delays their response time. When you only ask one question, they just answer that one question there. Yeah. So my next question for you, Victoria, is before someone even hits send, what are some maybe the mindset or energy shift is required so that you show up a service and not stress?
Yeah, I know. Again, like I'm from the South, so we say sugar and spice, sweet and nice. So this is my sweet, but a little bit of sugar and spice to it is that it's really not that big of a deal. And I hate, and I'm not like putting anyone down, but it's really not that big of a deal when you go out. I like to think of it like a networking event. That's what I like to think of it. I don't like to think that they're someone that would never talk to me. I like to think of it as, you know what, there's this person on LinkedIn. I like their profile. I could potentially work with them. Let's start a conversation. So it's never like, ooh, I wonder if they're gonna buy from me. I wonder what to say to get them to buy. I just think, what can I say to get this person to respond? And that's how I look at it. I just want to meet you. I just want to talk to you. I just want to learn about you. And then maybe if I like you, because you might not even like them, like you may message someone. I had someone the other day, I asked them like, what's your thoughts about low LinkedIn impressions? And they got very upset with me. Like, I don't have low LinkedIn impressions. I was like, okay, well, great. Thank you for telling me that. I don't want to work with you because you're not very nice. But I think that there's a lot of like anxiety that comes like these are all strangers and yes they are, but just get that conversation. And I think also we have to know that in order to be in business, we have to put ourselves out there. Like I'm doing right now, it's putting myself out there. And I feel like, for us, it's like, okay, well, let's just contact this person. Let's just have a response and let's just get them to talk. We stay in business more when we know how to do that outbound game and we know how to do it with what works for us. And I think one thing I'll mention very quickly is that there's a lot of playbooks out there on LinkedIn. And I think one of the things that we don't hear a lot about is every person is different and every industry is different. And what you have to do is you have to figure out if I say this, will I get the response that I'm looking for? And you have to test your market and test your messaging. And once you have those right messaging, then you're like, okay, now I know what to do. And it becomes less scary and less stressful once you've done the dance and once you've done it. So that's how we're answer that one.
I love that. I love that question. And I love what Samantha comment here is that we should engage in public comments, like in the posts on a thread. And we feel so much less icky if you DM later. But it should be a conversation, not just a great point. I really agree with that because essentially you're getting on their radar. And I think this is actually really important, especially if you want to network with people who have a huge following, is stay top of mind by commenting and showing support. So when it gets into the DM conversation, it becomes much easier and much more natural, and naturally will move into a call conversation as well. So that's something I have done like over the years, something that I do too, not just for prospecting, but I also think of every quarter, like who are the people I want to meet in my own industry, like fellow coaches, fellow peers, or people who are big name influencers. I show my support by commenting. And by doing that, sliding to the DM conversation becomes so much more easier and smoother out there. They're no longer going to see you as a stranger. Other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good questions we'll have to like answer at the end because I like there's so many things I want to say, so I'll have to make sure
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
answer
And then
them like
one that jumped out for you that you want to address. I think someone,
oh my gosh. Well, there's two really quick. Bosky asked about sending a blank connection. So I will say 100%. I've found like if it's a very, very cold person, like it hasn't been a profile view or hasn't been commenting on my stuff, I send them a blank connection request. I say nothing. And then LinkedIn, if when you click on your connections, you can go and see who recently accepted your connection request, and it'll tell you the date. And then that's when I DM them just something to get a response. Like, I think there was a published author the other day, and I said it's so inspiring that you're a published author. Like, when did you first start writing? That got a response. It's almost like you knock on their door and then they're like, okay, you can come in. And once you've been invited in, and I also feel like if they've accepted your connection request, they might know that something's coming. And then the other one, Samantha was talking about being a burnout coach. So I'm currently working with someone, and they work with people who are like making pivots or want to increase their job, their salary, and they are ones that you don't necessarily know that they're open for work. So it's kind of you're thinking about like what are some things that would potentially give me an identification that there's a need there. If you think about like burnt out women in corporate, well, if they're a female, I mean that's easy. If what type of job do they have? Is it a VP job? Like, is it something that could be stressful? Are they posting pictures of their children online? Like, or do they have a family, or do they have like a multiple volunteerism that they're doing? Like, what are these factors that would contribute to a burnt out woman? And then you message and you just have a conversation. Hey, I saw that you're working at this company. Like, that's amazing. Like, when did you get started there? Oh, that's really cool. Like, how's it been going? Like, you see, maybe she posts about yoga. I saw that you do yoga. Is that something that have you been practicing yoga for a while? You're just starting to have like that little conversation. And if your tagline's positioned correctly, like they'll know that you're a burnt out coach. And so as you start having these, and we'll move into this as we talk, but as you start having these like nurturing conversations, then eventually you have to move from like, I'm going to nurture and talk to you. But now I'm going to ask you like a transitional question. And that's where you actually get into having the real business conversation. In that case, if it's someone that's, if it's a burnout coach, I would be like, hey, like, I saw that you're volunteering and you have a family and you're a VP. Like, how do you balance it all? That's my transitional question. And then she's like, oh, yeah, I'm trying. It's hard. My kids are young and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So, what type of methods do you use to, prevent burnout? There we go again. She's going to tell me. Then I'm going to ask her my next qualifying question. Then I'm going to ask her my next, and I'm going to ask her my next couple of questions. Well, I work with females just like you that have been burnt out and that are feeling very overwhelmed. And I'd love to hop on a quick call and have a chat. Here's my link. I will ask her permission. Would you be open to a quick chat? She says yes. Okay, cool. Here's my link.
I love that.
That's how it's
This is
done.
a real example. Samantha, type in what's resonating. You just got a real coaching here, real time example. I love this. Maybe just to summarize the follow up to this, because I love that you just gave a real life example here. Take us a step back and we'll look big picture here is in terms of the overall DM nurture process. What are the key stages people should think about to warm up a lead? And
Okay.
we're talking about, because one of the common questions I always get, and I teach a lot, is one, first of all, how do we know they're right lead? Should we even engage with them? What's that criteria? Should I even bother? Like, what are the different stages that we could go through here? And I'm going to add in mine afterwards as well, how I think through things like this.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a loaded question because I think about like, oh my God, so many touch points, so many things. So I definitely think you've got your warm and your cold. So your warm are the profile views, the followers, people that ask to join your network, people that are commenting and engaging on your accounts, people that are commenting or voting in your polls. So those are my five, and I have specific messaging that I send based upon which bucket this person is in. If it's a profile view, and a follower, I have a specific message because I know this type of message will get a response. If it's a connection request, it's more of a new like personalized message. If they've sent me a connection request, now I can maybe add a little bit to see like why are they connecting with me? What brought you to my profile? Was it my content? Was it a mutual connection? Was it a talk that I gave? Like that will help me. So those are ones that are a little bit warmer, and even like just working as a career coach, I knew like when someone viewed my profile, I mean, really any industry, someone's viewing my profile or they are following me, they are already warm, and there's an opportunity to get to that person and work with them pretty quick. You can close those really, really good. It might be a longer close cycle, but they're so much easier than when you're out there like farming for cold people. No, if it is a cold lead, like I'm literally searching a CEO or founder, that's going to be where I send the blank connection request. They accept, and then that's when I've got something very, very personalized to again elicit a response. So the first thing is get a response. Once we once we got a response, I'm like, yay, okay, all right, they're responding. And then again, we're moving into having just really, really, basic conversation, something that will get them to respond. The marathon runner, oh, I've been, are you training for a marathon? Someone, I recently got back from a trip. They're like, oh, have you ever been there? Yes, I've been there. Do you like Turkish coffee? Blah, 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 blah. Then we move into, I like to kind of keep that pretty short. I don't like it to be like too crazy. But I like to have enough to where they seem like they like me. Like when you can get from someone's tone when you're messaging them that they're vibing with you. If they're not vibing with me, then I may like hold off a little bit. I may, message them back in an hour or message them back the next day. I'm waiting to where we're vibing. And then once we've got the vibe check, once I feel like this person's responding, and if someone's responding like very, very short and to the point, you can kind of tell that they're not interested. Like some CEOs and founders will be short, but if you're getting a response back from a CEO founder, even though it's short, they're still interested. But you may note that like some people are going to be short. You kind of can get the idea. Like if they're just not jiving with you, it's something that you're going to have to nurture and really gain trust. But once I feel like, okay, they seem warm and they seem open, that's where I have that transitional question. Like, let's say you're a business coach, like, how long have you been in business or how's things going for you on LinkedIn? How are things going? Like, do you have a lead gen process? If you're a jobs or if you're a career coach, it's saying like, how long have you been in the job market? I saw that you're open for work. I can tell you that if you're a career coach, those are some of the easiest sales to close. It is really, really easy to get those questions. And then I'm gonna finish this really quick. Like I said, there's so much to unpack with this process, but as you move to that transitional question, then you start figuring out what are a couple of questions that I need to know to make sure that they're worth my time to get on a call. Because time is everything. So you want to ask like, okay, if you're selling coaching, okay, well, what type of coaching? Is it leadership coaching? What are some things I need to know? Like, are they actively coaching clients, or Is it a newer business? I don't work with newer business people. Like, or if you are working with job seekers, well, they're targeting a salary that's 40,000. That's going to be too low to afford my coaching services. So think about some of the first couple of questions you ask on your intake form or on your call form, and just ask those questions. Don't copy and paste the entire question because it's going to be too much for them to read. Just have like a line and ask them, get a response. One of the things that I will share is when they are messaging me, I try to keep like my responses like to the flow. So if they're saying like like job seeker, I've been applying for this and role. Okay, cool. How many interviews have you gotten? Have you been getting interviews? They're like, okay, I've only been getting a few. Okay, have you gotten any offers? No, I haven't gotten any offers. Okay. And then it's like, okay, well, I know that I'll ask them like, what's your target salary? They tell me their target salary. Then I'm like, okay, I've got enough that I need to know. So I'm gonna, move to my pitch question. Again, I worked with others with similar need. This is how I've helped them. I'd love to get on a quick call with you. Are you open to having a call? And they say yes, you send them the link. Um, and then the last thing I'll say, I'm sorry I'm talking so long, but the last thing I'll say is that one of the newer things I've been noticing is drop-offs from your booking form to actually scheduling. And so I challenge everyone to think about what I can do to prevent drop-off where they're actually filling out my online form to where they actually get on a call. And I've been thinking about that. So try to think about that as well, because if you send them a link and they don't book, now you got to follow up. But how do I get them to book initially without me having to follow up? So that's a lot I shared.
No,
So
this is good. This is really good. I want to recap a few things because this is something I think a lot about, and a few things I want to summarize what you said here. Number one is be able to identify the type of lead. Is it warm or cold? Is it inbound or outbound? Have they checked out your profile? Have they attended your event? Have they been engaging with your content? That all will help you gauge the type of response and conversation, right? Because you're trying to find a common interest here. And we know, studies show here, the colder it is, meaning the less know about you, the less likely they're going to respond. The engagement is not going to be as warm. So you're probably going to have to think through how you're going to really get them to respond there. So one thing that I talk a lot about, because it goes back to how do you save time, is really knowing your criteria. I like to put on my recruiter hat on and think about what is my criteria of my ideal leads or my ideal target buyers. Who are my target power buyers? Right? This goes back to your niche, but I like to even specify who are your target buyers? What are the things that you look for by checking out their profile that will give you clues for you to pursue? Right? Those are clues. And so you can have a point system that if they meet these three criteria, then I'm going to pursue. Right? So for my case, for example, because I work with coaches, one of my criteria would be, are they a coach? Have they been a coach for some time, or they may be a certified coach? Or do they have a business? Do they have an online presence? These are some of the questions that I ask to help gauge, okay, one, should I pursue or not? And so that's a very important piece. Second is once you know your criteria, your ideal leads, it's come up with good questions. This is what Victoria's been talking a lot about right now. Come up with good questions related to your buyer's pain points and goals. This is how you tailor specific questions to what you do so that you qualify them through that process. Because the goal here is what? The goal here is eventually, this DM conversation, is we want to move them down the buyer's journey. Right, this is something we're not going too deep today, but the goal here is if you nurture enough, is you invite them either to an event, you offer them something of value, or you get them to eventually like either a networking call or a sales call. That is part of your goal, but you don't do that right away until you have one, had a conversation, build trust. Second, qualify them to see if they are really interested so you don't waste time. That is what Victoria is talking about that I want to highlight. That's a very, very important piece there. Any particular questions you want to highlight here, Victoria, that you're seeing in the chat?
yeah, there was one about a job seeker, and I kind of answered that about pitching to a hiring manager. And it was about video, and I would say that I've actually been experimenting with voice and video, so I would recommend that you guys. I think for more B2C, if you can keep your voice message very short, I think you can get a pretty good response from that if you keep it short. B2B, as I've been doing voice messages, I haven't had a lot of like, they haven't been excited because they're busy, and I don't think they're excited about listening to a voice message. But I feel like for more B2B, like they respond like, if you're more into what they're doing, or you have something really insightful about their company, or something really insightful to add to their company. B2C, they're all about, how can you help me? Can I trust you? And how can you help me?
Love that. I love that there. So I have a couple more questions. I'm going to do some screen sharing examples here, and then we'll open the floor up here. What's your approach to follow up, especially when someone goes quiet or disappears? They ghost you. How do you re-engage that relationship in a way that feels natural?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be mindful of our time so we can get to all the things. So I'll try to keep my responses short. But I think one of the tips is that I like to resend them a LinkedIn post that they shared. So I'll go to their LinkedIn. There's a post. I'll hit I think it's the arrow that says like send or share, and I'll send it to them. And then I'll comment directly to them and say, like, I love this post. Like, I'll say something insightful, whatever's coming to mind. Like, if they've been to a business conference, like, is this your first time there, or were you a speaker there, or I loved your speech on X, Y, and Z. That typically will elicit a response, because they're like, wow, someone's actually resending my post to me. That's kind of cool. A lot of times also it's messaging them back and just saying, hey, I was just checking in. I was just reading over our conversation, and then ask them kind of the question that you last left off on. This works best if it's been a couple days. So let's say like 3 to 5 days have passed, and you sent them your booking link and they didn't respond. Easy to say would be, hey, happy Friday. Do you have any fun weekend plans? I was just looking over our message about connecting with me on a call. Are you open to connecting next week? And that if they're not ghosting, if they're interested, then they'll get back. So those are more of just kind of like, I call them gentle nudges, gentle reminders, or a little bit of value. If you have like an event, I would invite them to an event or something cool coming up. But a lot of times if they're very new, I would just ask for permission first. Like, hey, I've got this event on X, Y, and Z. It's this time. Would you be interested in attending? And see what they have to say. If you've been working with the person, you've been connecting with them, they should be okay without the permission base, but just don't like constantly send them stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Something I learned too is, and we talked about this, is that permission-based marketing. So this is a great example of you invite them to something, ask them if they're interested, and if they are, you'll send the link. So you don't need to drop the link right away, but you can share with them the opportunity event, and then they say yes, you send them that link. So that's one way to get their response. Other Right. And I think something I learned from you too, Victoria, is if you've already been having a long conversation for quite some time, and if they're not engaging, if we feel like we're bothering them, we could just ask like, hey, do you still want to hear from me? Do you want to still be invited to my events? Because I see that you haven't been able to attend them. And most of the time they'll respond like, yes, please do. Please do continue to invite me to your events. I just haven't been able to make it, or please send me the replay. So it's a great way just to check in as well, like to gauge like, hey, do you still want to continue this relationship or not? Yes. Is that what I did with you, Meenakshi? And it worked. Thank you for sharing that there. Okay, so how do you decide whether to keep following up or let it go? What are those mental filters for that?
Yeah, I think like definitely if you've been messaging them a lot and they're just very silent, they're just not getting back. It's time to save your time and your energy and find someone that's excited to work with you. That's how I always look at that. Like, I always think like, okay, if they don't want me, then they're not my client. I think like you can still follow up with them, but there's just some people that, if you've sent 3 to 4 messages and they're just not there, I just move on. I also like if they're kind of like okay-ish qualified client, if you're like, oh, they could be, but maybe not, they're not getting back. It's another one that you're just like, no. And there's another thing too, is also deciding if they're even worth like you wanting to work with them. A lot of times too, when you're qualifying, you can start gauging like the interest. Like if you start, for instance, someone's giving you like complaining about a service or a product they work with or coach they've worked with, or they're complaining about, their spouse, or like they just have a lot of stuff going on, which is okay. We all have stuff, but sometimes if it's very baggage heavy, then you're like, is that something that I want to work with? Like, no, obviously if you work on, more towards like some type of like psychotherapy, et cetera, that's a little bit different. And it's depending on the coaching that you work with. But if it is something that's just too much for where you want to be, someone that I would potentially let go. So there's a point that you can just gauge. If no response, it's time to move on. And one thing I will say is that I think it's very important as we're going through this process is to constantly source for new clients and new potential leads. So for me, a good practice that I have is daily 20 new leads that I'm sourcing. So I'm going into LinkedIn in the search bar and I'm typing the title of the type of person I want to work with. So it depends what industry you're in. For me, it's like a CEO founder. And then what I'm doing is I'm sending them a blank connection request. We talked about that, the rest of the process. The other thing to do is to start building a list of people that you want to work with and start engaging and commenting on their posts. So what you can do is in the LinkedIn search bar, again, you type in the name of the person and then you're filtering by post. And you're filtering by the posts that within the last 24 hours. And you're going to start seeing like, oh yeah, like there's a lot of my ICP that are posting that are active on LinkedIn. You want to get to them. So you build a list of those people and you comment. And then by the time they get your connection request, they're like, oh boy, like here's the person that's been there. So I recommend that like 20 a day if you can. I think in premium, it's like 20 that you can do 150 a week.
I love this. Okay, let me recap this. I want to share my process and we're going to examples here. What you're talking right now is the lead funnel math. Some of you told me that you love his lead funnel map, but this is like, I love what you said, proactive sourcing. Like this is really putting on the recruiter hat to not just wait for inbound leads. Inbound leads is based on the marketing that you do from your content, but the sourcing piece is also the outbound where you are building a pipeline, right? So for those who've attended my lead generation masterclass, something we talked about is like if you want to close 4 or 5 clients a month, times up by 20-30 of the pipeline of funnel that you need, which is about 100-120 a month. That you want to have that healthy lead pipeline here. And the reality is, it's okay that not everyone's going to talk to you. This is just a reality. Okay, you can assume like even though you reach out, half of them will not respond. Okay, or maybe just 30% will respond. That's just the reality that there's the other half are not going to respond. And then after that, maybe just half of them will actively engage with you. Whatever it's just it happens, right? Half of you engage with you. And then from that, maybe only just half of them will come to whatever invitation that you send out. Like every month, we have about 30-50 people attend our events through invite-only approach. I think we send about maybe like 100 or so type of invites. We get about 30-50 who attend other. And then from there, we have people like half a dozen people who would book a call. So that is what we call the lead funnel math, that conversion rate of knowing what do you need to do to move down this process there. So that's something very, very important to map out. Okay. Yes. Do you track the leads on LinkedIn without Sales Never? Yeah, absolutely. We have a CRM tool like to track all our leads so that we see what stage. I think something we haven't talked about. I do in our business here is we have different stages. Like stage 0 is like the number of leads that we have in the pipeline. Stage 1 is how many people you reach out to. Stage 2 is like, okay, how many people actually respond to us? Stage 3 is how many people are actually engaging with us. Stage 4 is how many people are actually coming to our events. Stage 5 are those who are qualified and want to actually have a conversation, a sales call with us. So you want to actually track that journey. And what we've seen is typically for those who become clients, they would have attended at least anywhere between 2 to 4 events. And part of that, in order for them to come to 2 to 4 events, we've been nurturing them anywhere from 2 to 6 months of the process there. Okay, so we're going to share with you some examples around that there. Yes. Let me see. Before we go to an example, do you have a question you want to answer, Victoria, that you're seeing in the chat?
Yeah, yes. I think Izzy, let me look at this. So sorry, it's being
But Izzy's question, let me see. He's got a couple here.
I have a little box covering it. So do you something, what is that word? What do you?
You say
I
them
can
in
just tell
condo.
you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I can elaborate on it if you want. I was just asking a little bit more about like the granularity of your process. When you say you source 20 new leads, like what's the sequence of events that you actually go through? You look them up, you type in their title, you kind of find people. What's next? Do you message them on the fly, or do you save them all into a spreadsheet or an app, and then you kind of qualify them and do some research on them and then message? What does that process look like?
Yeah, so I'm I'm very like I'm a very, very simple person when it comes to things that I do, and I'm just so simple. I will say I attended a session with Kondo, the founder. I would recommend, and this isn't like an affiliate or anything, but I recommend checking out that tool because it does make your DM management, especially if you're getting a lot of DMs, very manageable. There's a way also to where you can have like similar responses that you can resend without copying and pasting. So that's a whole thing in itself, and it kind of works more like Google, like your Gmail account, versus like LinkedIn. You just have a slew of messages. Because I use a lot of other tools, I haven't personally used Condo myself. But I'm someone that I'm like I have to respond to messages in 24 hours, so I stay on top of my inbox. So I already know like what's happening. I think for me, it is I think my process starts of who's active right now, who's posting. So what I'm doing is I'm sourcing automatically. So I'm going and I'm typing in the founders. I'm going to post. I'm seeing what they're typing. I can tell by their tagline. Like I'll go in and actually click on their post. I'll look at their tagline really quick. Look at their experience really quick. If I like them, I comment on their post. I send them a connection request. I save their name in a spreadsheet. And then I do that every day. And then I go back to my spreadsheet because I'm like, okay, did I source 20 new people today? Check, done. Okay, did I comment on 20 people today? That's my ICP. No. Okay, well, you got to go do that. Do that check. So that's my big process that I do. I know it doesn't sound extremely whatever. I think people spend a lot of time over researching. So you can tell by the tagline, their experience section, their about, quick skim, done. Do I message on the fly? No, I send the blank connection request. And then once they accept that they're already to me a warm lead, and then I message them. And I don't track and mark what's messages because I manage the inbox daily. So as long as I'm managing my inbox, I know it sounds like I'm being really quick, but I'm like, I think to myself, it's like, this is my job. This is my bread and butter. This provides for my family. This provides for all of my goals. I have to do it. I have to do it. So that's where it
And you're
comes in for
quick.
me.
You're quick. You're like, you go. You don't waste time. Yeah, I think one of the things that's important, I would say, is have a good tracking system, right? Whatever it is, it could be a spreadsheet to keep track. And so I like to always think about if I'm hosting these events, who do I want to invite? So I have an invite guest list. So that way I'm not wasting time of who I'm going to send out invites to. If I want to send someone voice notes, I have my list of 10, 20, and I'll sit there on a Friday to send 10, 20, 30 voice notes that I just want to let them know that I'm thinking about them. So that way you're focused versus doing it sporadically throughout the week or day there. Like that's like the batch way of doing things to save time there. Yeah. Victoria, I want to move into some examples, some screenshots. I think that's something we wanted to do, right? Because people always ask us for real examples. So I think we're going to share an example of how Victoria does it, how I do it, how clients do it.
Okay.
That'd be fun to share some examples with you
Yeah.
guys.
Do you want to start first?
You want me to start first? Do you want me to start mine first? Okay, I can start mine first.
Because I need to pull up mine because I exit out.
Okay, let me start mine. I'll start with a few here. Let me just share screen with you all. Let me see. Can you all see this as an example? Yeah, perfect. Hands, I see that. Okay, so this is one example of how a client, Teresa, who gave us permission to share as well, of how she did her EDM. And I know Victoria gave some advice to Teresa as well. This is the example she shared of how Victoria guided her. And so you see here, I'm not going to read through everything, but I just want to point out a few things where the arrows are. First, start a question. How has your 2025 been so far? This is beginning of January, right? The person respond. And then one question at a time is, what are you currently interviewing for? Right? They responded. How many interviews have you had so far? Right? And then a message on definitely we can help here. Happy to support any way you can. Oh, let me see the next slide here is she then had a invitation to an event. It's happening tomorrow. Hope to see you there. And then she wrote, here is the loom I just recorded for you. So a very specific for you type of messaging, specific for this person. This person wrote, this is awesome. Really appreciate it. And then you're welcome. If you want to jump on a call on Monday, just let me know. Following week, it says, hi, Teresa, good news. I decided I want to join your program. So this is like quick. End of January 29th till like mid-February here, right? So the conversion time is like what, less than 2 months of 6 weeks. It was a very, very quick case study. Another example here is client Lauren, who gave me permission to share as well. So before she switched to this new way of messaging that Victoria and I like talk a lot about, she used to reach out to 200 people a week. Her and her VA team reached out to 200 people, so 800 a month, which is crazy, but was hardly getting any conversion, meaning hardly getting any sales calls. And this is what we call the classic example of what we call that friend zone type of conversation. So she used like, what's your class? So she was looking for, like for alumni. I'm 99, yellow, and that's great. I would recommend this. There was no curiosity of questions of qualifying. So they were sending a lot of these on a weekly basis. And I was like, I need to dig further of what's happening, why you're reaching so many people not converting. And it was what we call this friend zone, right? It's not really adding too much value there. And so afterwards, we actually got her to, since then, going from 200 to only reach out to like the top 20 to 30 on a weekly basis by identifying who are considered warm and hot leads for her to reach out to. And so since then, she's been able to go from 200 to just about a dozen to getting like half a dozen sales call and close like 3 or 4 in just this past month, which is crazy conversion rate. And she reached out just saying, I know DMs, cold DMs can be awkward, but I wanted to connect, right? And then they responded with the person had a question and she added some value, right? Good, acknowledging the question. And these are actually quite a few high pivot paths for attorneys that don't require a pay cut because they're concerned whether they need to take a pay cut. And she gave some examples. So this is painting possibility. What is possible there? And then she asked a question. Are you actively thinking about pivot right now or more in research mode? So she's trying to qualify. Are they actually looking to pivot? I'm in research mode. I've been searching for this, but wondering if a career pivot would be better. So she's wondering. Okay, so now we got some more information. Okay, so she acknowledged her. And then they're like, if you're already asking the pivot question, that usually means it's worth looking into. And then it's like, no pressure at all, but I'm happy to share a few real examples. Want me to send a few ideas your way? The person wrote, that would be amazing. They asked, what is your fee? Should I book a call? She made it easy for her to book a call there. And so that led to the next stage. Okay, that led to the next stage here. That's part of the goal there. Here's my case study. This is with Aileen. Aileen, thank you for giving me permission to as example. Aileen's one of my clients in both my accelerator and mastermind. So her and I met back in February. This was just about a couple months ago. She attended my masterclass as part of ICF Toronto. So followed up with her. Want to send that, connect after she attended. And I asked the one question, what is the one goal you'll be working on in order to grow your LinkedIn account or to attract more clients? Because that was what the presentation about, right? To start that conversation. Right? And then she wrote a message to thank me. And then I asked, there's one question, do you mind me asking, how many clients are you currently working with? So to gauge, how many people they're working with, right? Is she really active in business there? Right? So then she gave me a little bit more what her goal is to eventually go on her own, right? So she was retiring her full-time corporate job to go on her own to hope to get 6 clients. And then another question was asked was, will you be offering primarily one-on-one coaching or group? So trying to understand the model of monetization, right? What is the business model here? How many clients do you work with? We're trying to understand, like, do you actually have active clients? And then next, we're going to walk you through the Aileen. This is like a really good one for us to learn key things here. Is the next one is understanding, this is qualifying questions. How long do you typically work with your clients? 6 months? Great. Another one is, what do you feel is one area in business that you feel you'll be working on to build out your business? So this is understanding either pain point or what the goal is. Right. And so she wrote, I want to consistently coach about 6 clients per month. And then I sent voice notes. I love sending voice notes because by this point, it's like, what, a week or 2 in the relationship here. And I sent 2 1-minute voice notes to Aileen, right? After all this information, I think it must have been something that is totally possible. It must have been a possibility message, Aileen, that I sent to you that that's only possible to get 6 clients per month. And this is how we can do it. And then she acknowledged, thank you for that note. Okay. And then I added another value here is LinkedIn content branding tips because she shared how that's something she's working on. So added more value with a LinkedIn video of content tips for her. And then afterwards, I think almost done here. This is to give an idea how long it takes to nurture. This is a good example. It's like 5 slides, 15 screenshots here, Aileen. I invited Aileen to my business mentoring session, something I host every couple months here. send an invitation out to my next event, right? And she joined. I also saw that she commented on my post as well, invited her to my community, right? So by this time, like, let's move further in our relationship here now. I feel like I want to have you in my community there where we have like real conversations there. And then we added value, going back to LinkedIn, some commenting on the LinkedIn banner, because that's something I think Aileen shared that you were working on, right? So adding value to start that conversation, right? Let me see here. Then the next one here, I think it's almost done here now, is just chatting back and forth. And let me see here. Oh, this is the key one. After Aileen attended this Coaches in Business Real Talk on March 27th, I still remember this. Aileen wrote, I would love to learn more about your mastermind retreat, right? After that, after a few days, like she wrote, I want to learn more. I gave her more information. We hopped on a call. And then afterwards, we connect, and I wrote, I would love to support you in scaling your business as a coach, speaker, author, and facilitator. That was her goal. This is what she wanted to do. I want to acknowledge that I capture what she shared with me. And I said, I will follow up with the offer and flexible payment plan. You'll be a fantastic addition to the program. And then she did share that she has an imposter syndrome about being part of this. So I shared my imposter syndrome course. Like, it's totally normal. Adding value again, to have imposter syndrome. And then Aileen's like, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all that information. I will wait for that. So this is a whole process. This is an example of a whole process from February to April, which is about 8 weeks. Right there. Okay, so I want to open the floor up, but actually before that, let's have Victoria to maybe what your observations are of these, and you can share your examples, and we'll open the floor up afterward.
Yeah,
Just
if you're good, I feel like you gave a really great example. I feel like you've got a lot of context. So I feel like that will override my examples. I think what I'm seeing is there's just value being built. You can see that it's not like pitching, it's really just building a lot of value. It's short and sweet. You can just tell that there's care there. You can see that someone is actually taking the time. It's different when we talked about pitch slapping. It's just so different from that because you just feel there's a different feel. It's like a warm hug versus like, here's my guide on 20 ways to optimize your LinkedIn profile to build your personal brand. It's just very, very different. And I think that's the big thing. And I think it's also keeping the conversation going. If any of that time that it dropped off, it seemed that conversation just kept going strong, even if there were days in between it. I think that the one thing that I will tell about some of the ones that I have is that use your voice when you're in these messages. And I know that sounds so dumb to say, but really talk how you speak. And it really resonates with people, especially in the AI world where everyone's using AI comments. Sometimes if you make a spelling or grammar mistake, just leave it. Not all the time, but sometimes because it shows that you're human.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to add insights, learnings from this? And before we hop into question,
Can I add one thing? It's Clevette.
hey, Clevette.
Hey, I loved how you shared your nurturing sequence, and that kind of goes back to knowing and watching your numbers. So the unsexy side of this is the metrics, right? Looking at how people are engaging, looking at who's engaging. You may have super fans and you're not even paying attention to them that are showing up in your content like every day. That's a super fan and they always have something to say. So start engaging them. They may not be your direct client, but perhaps they're an affiliate to someone that you know. So look at those individuals. And I always take it from the Myron Golden standpoint of 7 hours. 7 hours someone has to engage with your content. So like when you think of it, a post is like 15 seconds. Get them in the DM, that's another half hour. So when you add up all of that time, sometimes it's in excess of 7 hours, just like what Diana said and showed in that illustration, but you have to do 7 hours. Like that is the build of the know, like, trust that Diana talks about. So you have to go through that process. Sometimes people become fast friends, like you become fast friends with people, right? And then that's, the exception to the rule. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to do that spending time, the nurturing as Victoria's outlined. But Yeah,
Yeah, I love
just
that.
remember that part.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that, right? Like the 7 hours, 7 to 9 touch points to close. That is so important, like in the sales world here. And you talked about fast friends, Clevette. I think you just reminded me the importance of just why I do in-person events is the opportunity to build relationships much faster. Like I host like a yearly lunch in Toronto here where I usually have 40, 50 people who attend. And it's just a great way to build community and network to connect with people. Like that's how I met Clevette, Izzy, who are all here, like came to my in-person lunch, right? And then you came to my retreat day at the spa. So a lot of this is you build relationships over time is building that trust factor, especially now in the growing world of AI, is how do we be more human, be more real as well. Victoria, Bosky asks if you could share your screenshots. I think they want to see how you did it, not just me from my client. You gotta
Yeah, sure. It's there, Diana did a very good job and I did not, but we'll go through
you're
it.
downplaying here. Come on.
I have a lot, and so I'm just like, oh my God, I almost was like, I'll just share my LinkedIn, but I'm like, that's fine. It might be overwhelming. This is just so quick. It's just so quick. I sent this a CEO, he's been on LinkedIn for forever. I just sent him a voice note. Thanks so much for connecting. Hey, Victoria, that was my first audio message. What? Really? Oh my gosh, how long have you had account? About 20 years. And then I'm joking with him. I joke a lot. That's my personality. So I'm joking with him. He thought that was funny. And we have a longer conversation, but I make him laugh and then I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I love your work history. And he's was just like, I've been working for too long and blah, blah, blah. Um, this one was just saying, I asked someone like, what brought you to my profile? Someone show me your profile. Okay. This is me making a spelling error. Haha. Love it. What brought you to work with women in law? That was her tagline. She's telling me like what's going on, like why. Okay, cool. And then she's telling me a little bit more, and then I go into transition. So this is so quick. Someone showed me your profile. It was basically, thanks so much for connecting. What brought you here? Someone showed me your profile. What brought you to work with women in law? That's her tagline. She told me so far the way, and then she's telling me a little bit more. Then I'm like, great, my transition. This is her. I literally just started using LinkedIn and posting on here, working to figure it out. Boom. So that was that. This one's just me sending like a thank you for taking a look at my profile. This is just a very, very vague message that works really well for job seekers. So automatically she goes and tells me like, I need help. So like it was just so easy. If I wouldn't have followed up with her and sent her a message, would she have reached out? I don't know. But that's cool. I think, that they do, that we have that opportunity to control what our process is. This is just someone connected with me. It's really quick. Thank you for connecting. What role you're looking to move into? This was an inbound. They told me. And the reason I'm showing you this is it's very quick. My questioning, this is for jobs, career coach job seekers. This is the role. I'm looking for this. What's your target salary? 150K. This is me qualifying and upward. Okay, cool. I work with that. Got it. I always use that. I use got it or okay. Sounds good. And if I'm asking a question, I'll use like, I'm curious. Got it. Have you been able to secure interviews? They say, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Are you open to sharing your resume? Because I find like when you're doing like job search coaching, once they get the resume, then you can be like, oh, there's a problem here because no one has a perfect resume. And then this is where I go into my pitch. This is thank you so much. I see opportunities. Would you be opposed to 50-minute video? If so, you're welcome to book a time on my calendar. This was already that there was permission, so I'm already just sending the calendar link. And then just a really quick one. This is someone that's like a keynote speaker, really, really big on LinkedIn. And I didn't really know it at the time, but I just start messaging him, and you can just see like he's buying into this. It's just a message. It's just a message. There's not a lot here. There's not me pitching. He's just wanting to go and have a conversation. You can just see I'm just using my words, and I have like thousands upon thousands. So if there's anything that anyone's interested in me like diving into, I can always like find other ones, but these are just me showing you my quick process.
Thank you for sharing this. You guys now have seen like 4 examples. I think it's so important to know here that DMs do work. right? They're underrated, but I think they do work because that's the first part of starting the relationship, right? For me, the way I look at it, instead of hopping on like 15-minute calls right away, I like to have a conversation first before getting on a networking call, because I get that a lot as well, is I want to protect my time and energy, is start that DM conversation. And it takes time, but it's a great way for you to build your type a pipeline, right? And really, as coaches, you get to be selective and picky of who you want to engage with, who you want to work with. That is very, very important to build a sustainable and thriving business. Is you want to be selective. That there. Okay. Amazing. So we're going to open the floor up to questions. I want to first, let's give it up for Victoria, everyone, for giving us some like amazing advice. First of all, like this is so, so good. Like if you can type in the comment, like what are some things that you've learned? Give some shout out to Victoria, like what you appreciate about her. Let's just give her that warm fuzzy here. And we're going to open the floor up to questions. If you want to type into the chat of a question or raise your hand, use like the emoji raise your hand here. We'll go through as many questions as we can there. Okay. So I think I saw first, Jason, you had a question or comment, and
I
then
just threw
Dodi
into the
after.
chat. Yeah, so I threw into the chat some statistical data that I just threw in AI, and I talked about effectiveness in terms of when you measure yourself writing a text-based message versus a voice-based message versus a video message. And it really does depend on your audience. But for those of you who may be camera shy, getting used to that, I will tell this audience that when Diana and I first met, she sent me a Loom video just engaging me. And it really impressed my wife and I to say, oh, what a nice warm person. It was a nice warm welcome. And so as Diana and I have gotten to know each other, I just want to share with the group the encouragement of getting comfortable with yourself on video. Also, using the audio message feature on LinkedIn is fabulous, even though it allows you to only talk for a minute. More of the audience you're probably talking to only wants to hear your voice for a minute. So get in and get out. And one last thing that I'll mention is the video, in terms of what it captures, is 90 to 95% retainable versus only 10 to 15%. And that includes email. So if you have somebody's email and you're reaching out to them, they're only going to retain 10 to 15% of what you said. So write the email, but also include a follow-up video. And I've done that with clients and it's worked. It reinforces that warmth of the discussion you're having. So I just wanted to provide, a little bit of added supplement to what you guys have been talking about today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. Really appreciate it. Amazing. Thank you. Sarah, what about you? Sarah Dodine.
Yes, thanks, Diana. Thanks, Victoria, for a lovely session. Very helpful. So one thought came to my mind is when we want to delegate that to our VAs, and they are not as expert as us in running the show or answering the question. So I understand that we can give them a script, but what your recommendation would be if that lead generation can be delegated to a VA? What are the tips there and how we can do that?
Yeah. I recently was training a VA, and I think that they live in the I think they live somewhere in Asia, and I think that there's a couple of things that we need to do is number one is we need to develop kind of a playbook for them. So there's a testing process to know. And there's a lot of messaging that people will use, and you'll know that, okay, if I use this, it'll get a response. You got to kind of put that together of what do I say if it's a profile view? What if I say if it's a follower connection? And you got to make sure that those qualifying questions and how you build rapport like hits for your industry. So you kind of have to test that. And once you have it tested and tried and true, you train your VA on it. Unless you have one that is absolutely like a lead gen person and they know it and they have results and they have like loads of client reviews and testimonials, then they're higher. But if it's someone that you found and you're like, I gotta train them, develop your process, train them on it, and then once they're trained and they're doing it for themselves, then you kind of troubleshoot and make sure it's good. once they get everything down, they'll be good. The other thing is you've got to work with obviously their time zone, making sure that they can work during the hours that your clients are awake, and also making sure that they speak in your voice too. So it's a training process, but then once you can train someone up really well, then they take the place of you. And a DM this process can take anywhere from 1 to 2, sometimes longer a day. Not to scare, but it is, if you can get to that point of hiring, it is a good thing. But they just need to be trained well. And so in that case, honestly, like if you have the opportunity to work with someone that is like a lead gen agency, that might be an idea too, just because you don't have to train them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask if we can have a playbook example, like, or template to be shared with us, if it's available?
Yeah, I can definitely share one. I think I can share one of ones that are generalized, like templates that generalize, like kind of plug and play. But I would say if you send the message and like let's say you sent it like 15, 20 times and you're not getting response, that means you've got to tweak it for your people. So I can send one for sure, but just tweak it a little bit for those people, because I never tell anyone just to plug and play. And people say that and I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
A founder won't respond the same as a job seeker.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that we actually have some resources in our accelerator for clients only there. So we have some of the resources that we can share there. I do want to mention
you.
this though. It's very, very important. I've been in business for over a decade and having VA help myself. It is so, so important to be really clear. To me, there's a difference between sending just template type of response versus knowing how to carry a conversation. That's a very different, right? So I think the initial outreaches, you can automate it. Like I think like I have like Teresa, they automate out their outreach messages, the initial ones, and like the initial response. It's easy for the VA to respond based on whatever template response that you have. The more important training afterwards is like how do you actually nurture and qualify, move them down the funnel. That takes time. So never just like go figure it out or copy this. Even like for whatever Victoria share, you should never just throw that. Like that's the mistake I would say most coaches make. It's like you go figure it out because I don't like this part of the work. Never ever do that. You need to take responsibility of your business growth and sales. So even though you have a VA helping out, you should definitely every day be checking your DMs. When do you need to hop on to send a voice note? Never just rely on the VA to do that, because then you're not being responsible for your own business growth and sales. Like I always challenge my clients, like every single week, do you know at least the 10 to 20 leads in your pipeline that you should be following up with? Do you know what stage they're at? Are they ready to hop on a call with you? If you don't know that, we got a problem, right? Because that means you're not really in tune of your business, of what's really happening there. That's the 20 to 40% of the time that you want to dedicate in your business of working on your business there. Yeah. Okay. Anthea.
Thank you, both of you, Diana and Victoria. Terrific session. So I've broken all the rules already about DMing. I had someone connect with me, so I'd appreciate some quick guidance if you don't mind. And it's in a space that I'd like to work in. So I, after that, sent a note saying, thank you for connecting. I'm pivoting to work in this space. I have some questions to learn a little bit more. So I realized I asked too many questions. And then I was very bold, and I actually said that in my note. I said, I'm bold. If you'd like to speak, here's my link to setting up a call with me. I haven't heard back. How would you recommend I do another reach out one more time to this individual?
And I'm sorry, Sue, can you tell me what your title or the type of coaching that you're doing? Is it job career coach?
No, it's not career coaching,
Okay.
it's leadership coaching and consulting. So you said I'm reaching out as I'm pivoting my service offerings to the nonprofit sector. And then if you're open to a short conversation, I'd appreciate your thoughts on leadership, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how are you finding? Or is it people that are commenting or followers?
No, this lady reached out to me. I believe she probably is a network within another network that I'm on. So it was a cold reach out to me, just connecting, and which I accepted. And then I sent her a message to her.
Yeah, I think that I think like she's connecting with you, but I think from what I'm a visual person, so I'm better with the visual, but from what I'm following, it sounds like there's a little bit more of like a need to be set up and a little bit more of learning about her
Yes.
before we even go from there, because we haven't really
Mm,
qualified. And one of the things that I think is also important is just getting on a networking call is not
mm,
a good use of time. A lot of times it's to
right.
break your brain, and it's time is money. And I think that that's something that you have to be careful of. So I would start it way back of just being like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for connecting, and whatever she said, like repeat it back and
Mm,
ask her a question. It sounds like you were talking about leadership, so you pivot to asking her a question. If you and if it's okay with Diana, like if you wanted to send Diana or send me like that initial message, I can actually give you like specific
sure.
feedback because I can't visually see it.
Yeah.
Having
Thank you.
trouble telling you what to say.
Thank you for the
Um,
offer. Yes, I'll
yeah, I
do
can
that.
do
No
that. I
problem.
don't mind.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Victoria. That
Yeah.
was my question. Thanks.
And I think basically if the same scenario comes again, you should be able to use that similar like message that we sent. But if
Yeah.
you do want that person to get a response, like I think it's Friday, so just say, hey, I was just following up on my last message. We'll start with, hey, hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. Any fun plans for the weekend? And then go into, hey, I was just looking over our last message, and I think you had sent her like a link. I'm curious, like I
Hmm.
have a couple of spots available. You want to connect next week? Here's my link. I would do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Diana. Sorry, Diana. You did.
Victoria, just so maybe some of them ask, like, if they want more support on this, like, what's their next step? If they want more support from you, what would you like them to do and to follow up with you on that?
Yeah, so the two things that I do is I write content, so that's my big thing that I do, and I study, and I'm crazy about LinkedIn content, so that's number one. But I also do offer lead gen consulting, and so it's more of this. I'm not it's not done for you, but it's more of coaching. Typically, I've worked with founders, CEOs, coaches, etc., and we look at their DMs and we see what's going wrong, and then I tell you what I would do to fix it, and I give you a playbook to use, and we test the playbook, and we have different sessions to troubleshoot. And I also will work with VAs to help them get trained up as well, to know what to do and how to do it. So that's typically what I do. Now, if it's something in terms of, hey, can you check a message, and just I'm happy to do that just as a from this session, a few message responses back. Happy to do that as well.
Amazing. That's good to know. Feel free to connect with Victoria. I'm going to do a plug because I've known Victoria for over a year now. I know you're very, very humble, Victoria. Victoria knows her stuff with regards to LinkedIn content, with LinkedIn DMs. Like I've seen it in action with you the last 6 months, so you really know your stuff. And I also want to be mindful and respectful of your time because I know that you are such a giver. And I just want to do a plug. If any of you are going to send her a dozen messages to review for feedback, please make it a paid session. I'm just gonna do plug because like Victoria is such a giver. I'm just imagining 40 of you asking her for feedback. It's gonna take you an entire week. So book her time. Like she's worth it, I can tell you. Like we've had clients and my own clients like work with her, like even my mastermind clients, like where she'll dig deep into your DMs and give you that playbook, and you're gonna get more responses there. So I'm just gonna do that plug for you because I know you don't do that, Victoria. That's why you have me here.
Working there. Yeah. I mean, I thank you. Thank you for that. And I think I think for all of us, our biggest, expression of ourselves is to be successful in business. I think that really is and truly coming together with our talent and skills. So I do what I do with love. So thank you for that, Diana. But truly I'm someone that like I want people to have results. So anytime I work with someone, it's to get results. It's not I'm gonna give you this and plug and play and then I'm out. So let's all like build wildly successful businesses that align with how we want to work, our families, all the things. That's what we're here to do.
Amazing. Yes, real relationships. Let's do a quick rapid fire style here. Like, what's your biggest takeaway? What's one thing you're going to start doing here? We can just either type in the comment or if you want to speak on camera. I'm probably going to call a few of you here. You want to share? Like, Izzy, if you want to just share, like, I know you're a big relationship builder as well. Like, you're really, really good. Like, what are some things that you learned today and what you want to encourage others to do more of?
Yeah, I think thank you for that. First off, Victoria, thank you. This was super, super awesome. You're just like so good at this and such a natural and puts everything that I've ever done to shape. So it's awesome to see how you do it. But some of the things that I've always done, like in the course of my career, when I coached other people in their job search, was really that like personal connection first. It's just like spend the like 5 minutes it takes just to do a quick search of their LinkedIn and like give them a little bit of a compliment on something that they do because we're all sort of starved for attention, right? Like we're all working so hard on the whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's our job or it's our business. And like most of the time, all the effort that we put in goes unseen. So if someone just takes a minute to just like stand out and recognize that, it really, really stands out for me. And also don't ever say anything like your profile was very impressive. That's like an automatic block delete for me.
Thank you for sharing that. Alan, do you have any things you want to share? I saw that you had a comment here. I just want to share what your action takeaway here is.
Yeah, thanks so much, Diana, and thanks again, Victoria, for such a wonderful session. I think doing more with the video messages and the voice messages and really personalizing it to people just to create more warmth. I really appreciate that. I think that's going to make a big difference, and I'll be interested to see how that changes the traction I get and landing more sales calls with potential clients. So thank you.
Amazing. That's great to hear. Aileen, what about you?
I wrote in the chat that I'm going to start working towards 20 more leads per day, just reaching out. Like that's something I've learned today is just go on the search bar and start looking for people that I'd like to work with. And so that's something, that's how I'm going to turn my mind towards doing that. Thank you, Victoria. Would have never
That's a
thought of that.
great challenge. So this is like, I'm going to challenge you all to do that. And so I used to work in recruiting. And one thing you could do is once define that criteria, what are you looking for? And then from there you search, you filter by industry, by location, by job title, or by company name. And so that will help you narrow your search of what you're looking for. Okay. And so that's something that you can do. And what I tend to do is once I have that search criteria, we build what we call these Boolean search strings of criteria to the things that I want to look for. And I would just screen and look for like your top 100 leads and you save them into your spreadsheet. And then you prioritize how many people you want to reach out to on that weekly basis or daily basis. And you follow up other, right? So there's a process that you can do to help you with that you don't get overwhelmed. Yes. Kadeen.
Hello. Well, Victoria, hey girl, hey. Still waiting for my hey girl, hey to come back to me.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm just playing.
It's in my heart,
No,
and I will get
all
back.
good. All good, all good. No, but Victoria, I thank you so much for all the gems that you shared. I definitely have been watching and admiring you from a distance, same as I was with Diana, kind of creep people's patience before I connect and engage with them. But I just wanted to kind of, I guess this is my co-chat coming out. I wanted to really encourage everyone to put action into what Victoria has shared, right? So one of the things that I'm taking away is because we can sometimes think we're doing all the things, but nothing's happening, right? So I'm going to actually create a spreadsheet for those that I really have my eye on, that I really want to connect with and engage with, the organizations, like kind of what Diana was saying. It's something that I coach my clients to do, but I don't do it. So, and sometimes when we're doing all the things, it can be kind of demotivating and feel like, we're not doing anything. So I'm going to be more intentional with my actual outreaches. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's powerful to think that we do have things in our control. Like we can't always control if someone's going to sign with us or if they'll respond, but at least we have the control to work on our efforts, like to know that I'm working hard and what I'm doing is going to make a difference and mean something. So I always like to think of that, and it makes me feel better on days where I'm like, why aren't you getting faster to your goals? It's like, do more, work hard, you can do this.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing. Anyone else want to share before we wrap up here? This was such a fantastic session today. I know this is a hot topic I've been talking a lot about in my accelerator as well. Like this is just one part of your buyer's journey. There's like the content marketing, there's the lead nurturing in the DMs, then there's like your masterclass, your live events that you want to invite to, and then your sales call. So this is one part that I want you to all consider there. And next week, we have another session on Thursday, July 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern on how to make money and call in your aligned clients through your human design with Melissa Leithwood. I invite you all to attend. Melissa is a human design expert, and every time she's attend any of my events, people just love getting a reading from them. And you're going to love this session. Like, she's going to really share with you how do you leverage your own human design, essentially your superpower, you naturally connect with people to magnetize and call in the right people into your world there. And I love this topic because since knowing my own human design as a projector, it has helped me double down my strategy in doing more like in-person connection type of events to help me get the right clients to work with as well. So I invite you all to attend. This is something part of my give back of bringing experts and friends in my world to feature all of them to add value to this community there. So please attend that if you want. I just shared in the comment and the link here. And Victoria, thank you so much for your heart, your just being there for me to be for this community today, for sharing your wisdom and generosity. Really, really appreciate you. You're doing an amazing work, and I'm just so proud of you for doing this year. Like you're on the right path. And so I just want to remind everyone, to continue leverage your superpower. Stop overthinking, having that perfect message. Start showing up with service, with clarity and care and heart, because your next opportunity might just be waiting in your inbox. So thank you so much all for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.